it is so well put by Kevin Clark. He tweets this: the reason Mahomes is Michael Jordan is because Jordan relegated so many would-be legends to minor characters. He left literally no breathing room for anyone else and shaped the legacies of basically all his contemporaries. We might be seeing it again. He's on his way. I think that's really, really well said. That is what he's doing. Mahomes is now shaping not only his own legacy, but the legacies of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, whom he has beaten. Let's see what Brock Purdy winds up being. Brock Purdy could wind up being John Stockton. He could wind up being Craig Elo. I don't know which one it is, but just another one of the people that Jordan legendarily beat, that you remember more than anything for not beating Jordan. I mean, Charles Barkley is one of the greatest players that ever lived, but the first thing you say about him is he could never beat Jordan. Same with Ewing. Same with Malone and Stockton. Certainly you remember Elo and his connection to Jordan because of the legendary shot in '89. So, Cam, I don't know what you think of that, but I think it's the right way to put it. One of the things that Mahomes is doing is he is defining the legacy of all of his nearest rivals.
I think it's absolutely true, and he's not only defining the legacy of his nearest rivals, he's defining the legacy of these coaches. Kyle Shanahan might be a two-time champ if it weren't for Mahomes at this point. And, and Shanahan also ran into Brady, who did the same thing for so long. So I think he's impacting many, many, many people's careers beyond just Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and all these guys. But obviously they're the ones we'll talk about.
And Andy Reid, too.
And Andy Reid.
Look what he did for him.
Yeah, so he's elevating careers, and he's diminishing others. Not to say that they're not great players, but they would be greater, a lot of these guys, if they didn't come along at the same time, were born around the same time as this guy.
Well, I've said this many times, that when Michael Jordan happens, there are so many people that benefit from it that you don't even know about. And I've always said one of the examples is me. I am where I am today in large part because of Michael. Because of his greatness, the radio station I worked at decided we need to send someone around with him all the time. Like, we literally need to assign someone to just being with Michael Jordan at all times. And by some miracle, at the age of 24, they chose me, and it changed my life in every conceivable way. So there's all of these unintended consequences or unforeseen consequences of things like this, and that's exactly what the Chiefs are.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's also fascinating to me, the idea that Mahomes would be so far ahead of schedule if he hadn't caught the tail end of Brady and Brady hadn't clipped him in the playoffs twice. Spin that forward, even more fascinatingly, Tom Brady is going to be the voice of the NFL this time next year. He's taking Greg Olson's place in the Fox booth. He is going to be as much a part of our discourse as anybody. Like, imagine if Michael Jordan was like courtside in the NBA Finals talking about LeBron and his legacy. Like, we're going to have the chance for, in some sense, Brady and his words to shape the way that we view Mahomes ultimately potentially passing him.
If Mike McCarthy coached the game on Sunday that Kyle Shanahan did, we would be screaming for him to get fired. Screaming. Taking the ball to start overtime is an unconscionably bad decision. I'm tired of people defending it and saying the data doesn't say it's that. First of all, there is no data. A game like that had never been played before. You know what sometimes is just as good as data? Common sense. How many college football overtime games have been played since they instituted the nonsense that is college football overtime? Hundreds of them. No one has ever taken the ball to start college overtime. Why? Because it is a huge advantage to go second. This is not chess. In chess, you want to go first. In football, you want to go second. You want to know, what do I need to do to win the game or not lose it? That's an incredible advantage. And to say we talked it over and decided, well, we want the third possession if the first two end in a tie. Boy, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to have been in the room and heard the explanation of that. And then I'm sorry, your players not knowing it is not okay. Your players not knowing look, if nothing else, if it had never come up, you would think when they were in the 6 minutes that transpired, because you guys looked it up for me,
Yeah.
between the end of regulation and the start of overtime, in those 6 minutes, you'd think someone would have said to the players, in case you're not aware, these are the new rules in playoff overtime. Like, that did not come up ever at any point. And I will repeat for those who don't realize it, this is not a Super Bowl rule. It's a postseason rule. So they played, how many postseason games did they play last year, San Francisco? 3, right?
3.
And then 4 this year. No, 3 this year because they had a bye. So in any of those 6 games, this was the rule. So this wasn't the first game where this might be the rule. That rule was in place for their playoff games last year, this year. And at no point did someone tell Kyle Juszczyk, this game doesn't end if we score. Again, what would you give to have seen Kyle Juszczyk score a touchdown, drop to the ground in tears and think, we just won the Super Bowl? Because he doesn't know the rule. And if he didn't, who did? Like, which players did know? And did it impact anything that they did? I don't know that enough is being made of that. People are acting like, well, a lot of things happened in that game. Stop. A lot of things happen in every game. This doesn't happen in every game. So I don't think we should shortchange the significance of that lack of knowledge. I'm going to bring up a ridiculous comparison, but there was once a PGA championship that was played at Whistling Straits, a very famous golf course in Wisconsin. And Dustin Johnson wound up being penalized. He would have otherwise been in the playoff, but he wound up being penalized because that week they had moved some sand traps around. It's not worth getting into it, but there was a rule that apparently was posted in the clubhouse. Each player was notified of it, blah, 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 that he just didn't pay attention to. And he wound up playing a shot out of a bunker and grounding his club because he didn't know it was against the rule. Long story short, he didn't know it was against the rule, and it cost him. Now, in that case, he had no one to blame but himself, and he didn't impact anyone but himself. It's not a team game. In this case, the player's not knowing. It's just not okay.